Before we start, I'd just like to remind you again that photographs and videoing are restricted. And with regard to applause, the procedure is that the contestant, I will introduce them by name, by title, and then please welcome the contestant. They will be standing by the stage. Don't applaud until they actually come on the stage. They've agreed that that is a procedure they can live with. Thank God. Meanwhile, I do some housekeeping. Our next contestant, Pablo German. Pablo German meet the parents, Pablo German.
Do you remember the first time you met your partner's parents? Were you nervous? Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, ni hao. Meeting the partner's parents doesn't have to be such a stressful event, as my story will show you. At the end of August, my wife, Jen, our 3-year-old son, Phoenix, and I were getting ready to travel to China to meet Jin's parents for the first time. That's Phoenix and I were meeting them for the first time. Yes, Jin already met her parents. So many friends ask me, are you nervous that you're going to meet her parents for the first time? No, I would say. It's not like they have a say as to whether they like me or not. The deal is sealed. The truth is, I was a little bit nervous, but for another reason. Jin's parents only speak Mandarin Chinese, which meant that the only way I was going to be able to speak with them was in Chinese. And this was not going very well. Let me explain. About 5 years ago, I was at home by myself when the phone rang. Hello? I said. First, there was silence. And then the voice of a lady saying, Jinma, Jinma. I didn't speak any Chinese, but I realized that this was Jin's mother. And this was the first time that I was talking with her. What do? I thought. Jin is not here. I don't speak any Chinese. She doesn't speak any English. What would you do? I froze. And then I hung up. Slowly, hoping she wouldn't notice. Did I just hang up on my mother-in-law the first time speaking with her? This is not possible, I thought. I need to learn Chinese to be able to speak with Jin's parents, and I need to start right now, immediately, straight away. 3 years later, I took my first Chinese lesson. I studied Chinese for 2 years before the trip to China. The 6 months before the trip, I was working really hard. I was studying several hours a week. I even joined a bilingual Chinese-English Toastmasters we have in Auckland. Hey, I even gave 2 speeches in Chinese. I don't know what I said. I did. Now, you may think that learning Chinese should be easy having a Chinese wife. Well, as Jin said it, speaking Chinese with you is too boring. So one evening I came back home and I said, Jin, I put up an advertisement looking for someone to practice Chinese with me during lunchtime breaks. And I got a 23-year-old Chinese girl to do it. Jin said, no, to do that? You can practice with me. Let's practice right now. But Jin, you said speaking Chinese with me is too boring. No. When you speak Chinese, you're so sexy. Okay, I said, how much were you going to pay her? She said, $20 per hour. Okay, she said, it's $20 per hour. So now, apart from studying really hard and going to Chinese Toastmasters, I was also practicing with Jin in the evenings. And with a 23-year-old girl at lunchtime as well. So you can imagine my excitement when we arrived to China and I saw my parents-in-law for the first time. I approached them and I said, "Ni hao," and they understood. Amazing! This was going really well. They replied, "Ni hao," and at that moment, I was so proud of myself. Because after 2 years of studying Chinese, these were the first words I understood from my parents-in-law. They were also the last ones. They're lovely people, and for the next two weeks, they talked to me. I just have no idea what they said. If you haven't tried it, Chinese is a really difficult language. What brings me to Phoenix, did I tell you this was also Phoenix's first time meeting his grandparents? Now, since Phoenix was born, I've always been complaining to Jin. Why don't you speak Chinese to him? He's missing the opportunity to learn Chinese without having to go through what I'm going through. And before the trip, I was complaining even more. You see, you haven't spoken Chinese to him, now he won't be able to speak to his grandparents. But this was his first time meeting his grandparents, so it was going to be exciting. When we arrived and he saw his granddad for the first time, I said, "Phoenix, look, that's granddad. Say, 老爷好." 老爷 means grandfather from the mother's side in Chinese. Phoenix looked at his 老爷 for the first time and said, "I'm not your friend." Now don't worry, 老爷 didn't understand that. But from that moment on, I'm so thankful that Jin never taught Chinese. All in all, I believe this was a successful first meeting Jin's parents for the first time. And I believe they liked me just fine. If they didn't like me, well, it's too late. The deal is sealed. If you know anyone who is really nervous about meeting their partner's parents for the first time, this is my advice. First, get married, then have a kid, and then meet the parents. 再见.